Joe Biden was the topic of a podcast, Bill Maher's podcast yesterday with James Carville. And essentially, what James Carville said is, this is an extraordinary situation. He said Democrats need to wake the F up because Joe Biden is a problem. And if the election were held if the election were held this year, he's not sure that Joe Biden would win. And he said the Democratic Party, and this is the problem, the Democrat Party has morphed into, as you're about to hear him describe it, something weird.
There is a certain coastal arrogance in this country, and people feel it. The Western far left is habitually the most stupid, naive people you can imagine. And they come up with these really goofy constructs, and it's all about feeling good about yourself.
Yeah, well, just feeling, as opposed to like free speech. Like if your feelings are hurt, that's more important than free speech.
Most people don't even know what they're talking about. Overeducated coastal white people got a hold to the word, and if they do everything else, they completely it up and everybody in the country off.
Now you're speaking my language.
And if we just could get the humanities faculty at Amherst to shut up, we'd be a lot better off.
So good.
Wow, that was excellent.
Bill Maher went on to compare Joe Biden to Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I guess because she stayed in longer than the Democrats wanted, he's staying in longer than they want.
You gotta,
and he took shots at the Republicans.
But you got to understand who James Carville is. He's a Democrat. He's not a liberal. And this is a guy that's from Louisiana that spends his time with a diverse group of people. And what he's saying is, you guys are talking over people's head. All this gender ideology stuff, people don't understand this nonsense. They don't understand you trying to re-educate their children. You're not talking about the economy in a palatable way. You're not talking about all this EV stuff when people are just trying to get to work on a day-to-day basis.
I
mean, the child care stuff. He goes, and he did go after the Republicans as well. He still thinks that the Republican Party is crazy. But what he's saying is the way that the Democratic Party is talking about it from these academics, these woke white liberals that are trying to indoctrinate your children, it's just not going to work in this election.
To take a shot at universities like he did at the end, that's extraordinary.
Yeah.
So he says a couple other things, too, I think is important. Him and Bill Maher are singing the Bill Clinton type song. Bill Clinton's like, that's what I think, but this is what I got to deal with. Let's be practical. That is a 1990s approach to it, which I think the country needs. Hey, I don't have the majority in the House, I don't have the majority in the Senate. Let's not propose radical things we can't afford. We ended up with zero deficit. We literally balanced the budget. There was an announcement. We had no deficit, and look what's happened since. So he's trying to talk some sense into it, except for I just stop with the white and black thing.
Yeah.
Just say, listen, you have elite people at all these universities that come out with these idealistic ways in which our country should live and these criticisms about what our country has done, and it's not affected the average person. And Bill Maher can appreciate it because he's a comic and he travels the whole country. He leaves the West Coast all the time. He'll go to Ohio, he'll go to Texas, he'll go to small towns and big towns where he sells out. And he knows that this is not the way people think. And what's such amazing about what we're dealing with on a daily basis, we used to talk about tax cuts and we used to talk about even Obamacare. Oh, this is not going to work. Oh, you don't understand. We used to have interesting debates. Now these debates are so idiotic about can you be on your pronouns, on the border. What do you think the border? Is it going well? Does anyone in the country think this is a good policy? Does anyone in the country think that they even know the president knows what's going on? Are we pretending that the president is actually with it on a daily basis? The average people have already come to a conclusion on this, but other people are pretending as if the rest of the country is just stupid. And that's what Carville and Bill Maher are talking about. They haven't changed. They're never going to vote for Trump or DeSantis or Governor Nikki Haley.
Well, he made it very clear. Democrats need to wake up. I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.